Hello everybody. Today we'll be moving a bit further into our discussions regarding an issue that contemporary Indian society is encountering today, and that is privacy. So you may have seen last week where we spoke about the development of privacy as a socio-political ideal, as a constitutional principle, and how it has been represented either through direct inclusion or through judicial interpretation throughout constitutions and other such statutory declarations across the world. We also spoke about very briefly about the right to privacy judgment, which is also known as the Puttaswamy verdict, that came out of the announcement of the Aadhaar scheme as well as the Pegasus controversy. Today we'll be moving a little bit further into the Aadhaar controversy and the Pegasus controversy. So to begin with, when we speak about the Aadhaar controversy, we have to look at the Puttaswamy judgment, which essentially is also known as the right to privacy verdict. Why? Because as a result of a writ petition that was filed by retired Justice Puttaswamy in the Supreme Court, this judgment firmly established the right to privacy as an integral part of Article 21, which is the right to life and personal liberty, enshrined in our fundamental rights. So though the Puttaswamy judgment upheld the constitutionality of the Aadhaar scheme, it also insisted and indeed recommended that the government institute robust mechanisms to ensure that the Aadhaar scheme or any other kind of such governmental initiative protects the personal data and the personal privacy of all individuals within the country. In fact, various justices, including Justice Chandrachud, also expressed his concern that there is a potential for personal data to be transformed into commercial data and to be sold for profit with absolutely no benefits to those to whom the data belongs, or also they're also called data principals, or the people whose data is being processed, and with little or no benefit to these people, and sometimes even causing grievous harm to them without proper regulatory frameworks to punish such wrongdoing. So in response, the government constituted the Sri Krishna Committee, which was essentially headed by Justice B.N. Sri Krishna of the Supreme Court and 3 other justices of the Supreme Court as well. Now, the B.N. Sri Krishna Committee firstly recommended that all kinds of data processing, which is essentially the collection of data, the monitoring of data, recording of data, investigation of data, all of this occur only for clear, specific and lawful purposes. So this report essentially was submitted on 27th of July 2018 and was entitled A Free and Fair Digital Economy, Protecting Privacy, Empowering Citizens. So essentially this report also said that every data principal, who essentially is the individual whose data is being processed, has the right to be forgotten, which essentially means that they have the right to ensure that their data is deleted and de-identified once either consent has been withdrawn or the purpose for the processing of the data has gotten over. They also empowered these data principals with the right to be able to know what kind of information about them is being processed, and the right to correct any errors if necessary. Now, this report also instituted or recommended the institution of certain regulatory frameworks to prevent not only the national infringement of privacy or data privacy or personal data, but also the threats that come from the transborder nature of cybercrime. So they essentially firstly said that all critical personal data be stored only on national servers, and this would include sensitive personal data such as an individual's sexual orientation, their religion, their caste, their biometrics. Any of these data would only be stored in domestic servers, and any transnational or cross-border transfers of data would have to adhere to strict model clause contract regulations. It also recommended the setting up of a DPA or a data protection agency, which would essentially have the duty of protecting personal data, preventing the misappropriation or misuse of personal data, and also ensuring that all data fiduciaries, which are essentially companies or governments or any other organization or body that uses or processes data that belongs to data principals, it is to ensure that they also follow these guidelines. And what are these guidelines? These guidelines would include the setting up of an audit, the setting up of a data protection officer, and to ensure that any kind of data processing occurs according to the basic act that would be set out by the government. So this essentially was the report of the B.N. Sri Krishna Committee. Now, after this is in 2018, on 11th December 2019, Ravi Shankar Prasad, who is our Minister of Electronics and Information Technology, he introduced a bill in the Lok Sabha known as the Personal Data Protection Bill. Now, this bill essentially did expound on a lot of the recommendations of the B.N. Sri Krishna committee, but it also earned a lot of criticism from B.N. Sri Krishna himself, who termed it an Orwellian measure. This bill, while increasing the safeguards that were afforded to data principals, also said that while consent was mandatory to be acquired for processing data for clear, specific and lawful purposes, the requirement of obtaining consent could be waived if there was a medical emergency, if it was to provide benefits to the individual, which is essentially what the Aadhaar scheme was meant to do, or if it was for the prosecution, investigation or persecution of any legal offence. So essentially what this bill sought to do was to essentially absolve any government functionary or any government departments from the provisions of the Data Protection Bill, Personal Data Protection Bill, if there was any activity that was happening or the purpose was for protecting the security of the state, public order in the state, sovereignty and integrity of India, or friendly relations with other states, or for the prevention or persecution of any cognizable offences of the same. This bill also set up an organizational framework for the Data Protection Authority, which would essentially have a chairperson and 6 members with at least 10 years experience in this field of either cybersecurity or data protection. It also set up an appellate framework to ensure essentially that all data that is, or any misdemeanor that has happened or that is being investigated by the Data Protection Authority, be referred to this appellate tribunal, which would fall under the Supreme Court. It also ensured that the data protection officer would have to obviously conform to certain specific and strict guidelines. Another thing that this particular bill sought to do was to also ensure and institute stricter punishments and grave penalties for either the misuse or misappropriation of data, the processing of data outside the framework that has been set by the bill, or the re-identification and processing of de-identified personal data, or the failure to conduct data audits. All of this particular bill sought penalties and imprisonment for. Now, as I said, because this bill was sharply criticized for a variety of reasons, it was swiftly referred to a joint parliamentary committee, which was essentially run by BJP MP Meenakshi Lekhi in December 2019 itself, and it finally submitted its report on December 2021. Now, the JPC not only included particular ministers, it also included various other regulatory and industry stakeholders like the RBI, the Aadhaar department, which is the UIDAI, the SEBI, the Income Tax Department, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, and other law firms, social media bodies, and other media outlets as well. So again, the JPC also submitted its report, as I said, on 2021, and it did recommend certain other additions to what the bill had recommended from the recommendations of the B.N. Sri Krishna committee. So the first thing it recommended was to set up a timeline, essentially to ensure that the provisions of the bill are implemented strictly within the specified deadline. The second thing that it did, and this did earn it quite a lot of ire, was that it dissolved the difference between personal data and public data, because the point of the committee was that when data is collected, and when data is collected in a mass manner, it is virtually impossible to distinguish whether the data is private or whether the data is public. So they renamed the bill Data Protection Bill. So of course, to a lot of people, this did feel like it was, on the one hand, it was widening the scope of the bill, but it was also diluting the importance that was placed on personal privacy and personal data by the draft Personal Data Protection Bill, as well as the report of the B.N. Sri Krishna committee. The JPC also recommended that there be stricter punishments for the misappropriation of data. It allowed the data principals the right to elect a legal heir or representative to handle their data in case of untimely demise or illness. Very importantly, it also amended the Information Technology Act to ensure that social media organizations may not be treated as intermediaries but as publishers. So that would essentially mean that they would fall under the guidelines and the regulatory framework of the government. So a social media regulatory authority is also in the process of being set up, so that the government may have some kind of transparency about everything that is occurring on social media. This is again earned it quite a lot of protest. So presently the JPC has submitted its report and the government is under a lot of discussions on how to particularly pass this kind of bill and to ensure that there is a balance between the rights of the data principles as well as the market interests of the data fiduciaries or even the interests of national security that is held by the data fiduciary, which is the government. So this is one side of the story. Now the other side of the story is the Pegasus controversy. So we did discuss that the Pegasus essentially is a spyware that has been invented by the NSO group in Israel, which has been allegedly bought by the Indian government. And it allows essentially the mass surveillance of a large population. So, and we know that the Pegasus software has developed, the spyware has developed to an extent that it can conduct zero-click attacks, where essentially the software can or the spyware can infiltrate into a phone without any involvement from the owner of the phone. And we also knew that once the software infiltrates into a phone, virtually any kind of confidential personal data is completely lost, because it can have access to every single data on the phone, including, you know, alarms, cameras, mics, gallery, contacts, emails, phones, chats, everything. So of course, when in 2021 it was becoming more and more clear that there are several infringements of personal privacy, something called the Pegasus project, which was headed by 17 media organizations including The Wire, which was a collaborative investigative journalism effort, took place. And this report found that Pegasus had been infiltrated into the phones of several Indians, including opposition ministers, opposition religious leaders, members of the CBI, members of the Election Commission, Supreme Court judges, lawyers, journalists, activists, and a host of other people. So the Pegasus project found that the Pegasus software or the spyware had been used provenly to infiltrate into Rahul Gandhi's phone, Siddharth Varadarajan's phone, Umar Khalid, Abhishek Banerjee, as well as the female employee who had accused our former Chief Justice Gogoi of sexual harassment. So of course it became more and more evident that there was a lot of furor that was being raised against what of course the citizen groups as well as individuals felt are complete infringements upon their privacy and their right to privacy that has just now been guaranteed as a fundamental right by the judiciary through the Puttaswamy judgment. So there was a slew of writ petitions that were filed in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court did ask the government to provide a report or provide essentially an investigation of the same. But because the government in the Supreme Court's opinion failed to give a satisfactory answer, they took these writ petitions at face value. The government had offered to constitute a committee to look into this matter, but the Supreme Court says that for justice to be done, it must not only be done, it must be seen to be done. So they felt that if there is an offense or there has been something that has been leveled against the government, to allow the government to only the government to conduct such an inquiry would be against the principle of judicial integrity or judicial independence. So under Justice Ravindran, a technical committee of various other judges was constituted, which has basically been collecting information about the alleged utilization of the Pegasus spyware into various phones. So there was an expert, Anand Venkat Narayan, who came in front of the committee, and he did testify that there has been proof that it has definitely been used to infiltrate into Siddharth Varadarajan as well as Sushant Singh's phones. So this committee has also been facing some problems because people are quite afraid to submit their phones for this kind of investigation because they are fearing a data leak of a personal nature. So essentially what we would conclude with is the fact is that data privacy is an important part of the right to privacy, especially as our lives are becoming completely entwined with the internet and completely embedded into the larger international system of cross-border data transfers. It is absolutely essential that the government or any government, in fact, institute a proper framework to ensure that the personal data of individuals is protected. The right to privacy is as much a political right as it is a social right, as it is an economic right. And I'm sure as time passes, as Puttaswamy judgment would be interpreted to assume so. So I would end with what I ended with in the last talk as well, is that it still remains to be seen whether the right to privacy would be accepted only in letter or also in spirit.